Bartholomew Town is brought to you in part by the University of Rhode Island Online, Navigant Credit Union, the Audubon Society of Rhode Island, Newport Film, and Half Street Group.
Bartholomew Town.
Let me tell you about my friends at Half Street Group. They bring a new generation's perspective to leadership communications, strategic public relations, and digital marketing. Half Street helps organizations and leaders take control of their own stories and manage their reputations. They get results for their clients by focusing on audience, message, and culture, and by leveraging their decade-long relationship with media and opinion leaders in the Ocean State and throughout New England. And you can join me and Half Street Group founder and president Mike Raia for a conversation every month about news of the day, the hottest media analysis, and a look behind the scenes at how impactful leaders drive conversations. Learn more at halfstreetgroup.com. He's got the helmet on because Rhode Island FC is... well, they won the Eastern Conference Championships, and now they're competing in the USL National Championship out in Colorado. Mike Raia, he's the founder and president of Half Street Group. He joins us every month to go inside communications. That's exactly what we're doing. But speaking of communicating, you're communicating something Rhode Island hasn't seen for a while, which is kind of real excitement around anything other than the Friars in terms of sports.
Yeah, good to see you, Bill. Let's go in the echo or in the famous words of Ted Lasso. Let's go win the whole laughing thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an important thing to have the team, regardless. There are people who have been skeptical about the stadium or concerned about the completion of the project by a reasonable deadline, whether that's the stadium itself or the full wraparound. But the team performing well is good for Rhode Island. I think no matter what, no matter where you stand on the issue, you should be psyched the team is performing well, because if the team is good, people are going to want to come support it. People are going to want to go to bars or the Guild and watch it. Right. And this is the economic development.
Totally. And it's so much fun. Like I drop my kids off at school and I can't tell you how many RIFC shirts I'm seeing at Barrington Middle School drop-off, or how many of the hats I'm seeing or the scarves I'm seeing when I pick up my son at after school care. It's fun. People are excited about it. I'm looking forward. I'm going to be at the Guild for my brother's and sister-in-law's baby shower this weekend, and I know the game's going to be on, and it's going to be fun to watch it with my family. And it gives people a reason to talk about Rhode Island. It puts us on the map, and hopefully we're able to bring it home and be able to hold that trophy up at the end of the first season. So it'll be a good time. But I know we got a lot more to talk about than just some soccer matches.
Definitely a couple of things on the docket today. For one, blue sky, also artificial intelligence. But I think, very quickly, your read on, as someone who was and is a member of the Raimondo Alumni Network and worked closely with the former governor, now Commerce Secretary, the rumor mill that she's going to run for governor again. Your read on that, if you don't mind.
Oh, God. So here's the thing. I haven't had any direct conversations with the secretary, but I can tell you this. No one has done more to secure their legacy as the most impactful and the most competent and the most energetic governor that we've seen in modern history. She doesn't have anything left to prove. She doesn't have anything left to do here in Rhode Island. So I think it's silly. I think that there's a lot of barstool prognostication about what's next. I can tell you this: regardless of what she does next, it's going to be hugely impactful. She's going to continue to have a presence on the national and international stage. Personally, I would be floored if she gives any more than just a passing curiosity of what the constitutional question in Rhode Island would be. So I would say keep an eye out on what she does next, but I highly doubt that it's going to involve an office on the second floor of the State House. All
right, there it is. And someone who, again, hasn't had direct conversations, but you're familiar with the vibe of the former governor, now Commerce Secretary. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, she's an international figure and a national leader at this stage. And that's not to say that Rhode Island can't have that as a governor, but she did what she needed to, and she accomplished, and her legacy is secure. We've got free college because of Gina Raimondo. We had one of the best workforce training programs in the country because of Gina Raimondo. We had an economy that was completely turned around because of Gina Raimondo. We had one of the best COVID responses because of Gina Raimondo. She doesn't need to come back and do anything to further secure that legacy. I think, frankly, what it says more about that these rumors even exist is that there's an appetite in Rhode Island for a different perspective of leadership, and I think that's going to be an interesting thing to watch over the next 2 years. And I'm sure over the course of time, you and I will have lots to talk about on that. But in terms of the report, first on Twitter and then on the Public's radio, I think I love Ian Donis, but I think he's a little over his skis on this one.
All right, there it is. halfstreetgroup.com and across social media, a really interesting piece on BlueSky, which, look, there's been a X exodus for sure. I think that's for a couple of reasons. One, I think that it's a practical decision by some people, either from, frankly, a mental health standpoint or just because the site has become clunky and it's been more and more difficult to get information from the sources or the friends or the network that you used to. You've got so much Elon Musk and associates on there. You've got a lot of ads, a lot of porn. It's really changed. And some people have left altogether. There have been different efforts to try to replace it. There was a site called Post. There's Threads, which is the Meta product. We've seen Mastodon. BlueSky has been out there. It's not a new platform per se, but it has suddenly and abruptly become something that is going to challenge X as the leading short-form, word-oriented social media and communications platform. And early adoption, that's something that's key. What are you advising your clients right now in terms of BlueSky and early adoption?
Yeah, so we've had more questions about BlueSky from clients in the last week than we have really on any other macro topic. Typically when our clients call us, they're asking about kind of their editorial calendar or the issues that are important to them. And this was one of the first times in a long time where we got multiple phone calls, multiple emails from clients about a broader media topic. And what we're telling our folks, and particularly because we work with a lot of social impact organizations, nonprofits, that we're getting crowded out of the conversation on Twitter or X or Elon's platform. And we told them, we said, jump in. This is the moment right now. Get yourself on there, get familiar with it for a couple of different reasons. One, we see and we've seen really quickly that this platform is being embraced not just as an echo chamber or a response to what Elon and almost like these conspiracy theorist outfits and the algorithm has created on Twitter. And I think that's what made it easy. It's very easy for a lot to just write BlueSky off of, oh, it's the left's answer to Twitter. I don't think that that's wholly accurate. I think that there's a pocket of that exists there. The reason we're telling our clients and advising our clients to lean into it is because we're seeing newsrooms adapt it as a real source that they're pushing content through. We're seeing other national organizations embrace it and bring the conversations that they were having on X onto that platform. And that's happened in a way that it didn't happen on Threads. It didn't happen on Mastodon. It didn't happen on some of these other platforms that emerged. And I don't know that that's going to continue. I don't know that will stay there. But I do think the fact that you're seeing the New York Times, the Washington Post, WPRI 12, creating their own lists that they're pushing out to folks, that they're advising some of their reporters that this is the place to lean in. And I've heard anecdotally from a handful of reporters in this market who I've talked to that they're seeing more traffic into their stories from BlueSky than they are from Twitter. And I think that's a reflection of what's happening with the algorithm on Twitter, and how either different topics or different stories are either being throttled or are not being amplified at the same level that other content is. And I really think for the type of clients that we work with, part of the reason for them to be on this is that the key audiences that they need to reach, which are by and large with social impact organizations and others that we work with, they're not trying to reach the kind of audiences that align with kind of the crypto podcasts that are getting elevated on Twitter. They are reaching a more informed audience. They want to reach their board members, their donors. They want to reach policymakers. With so many of those people looking for a better user experience than they were getting on Twitter. Take out the fact that there are Nazis and other things all over the Twitter platform. The user experience was getting worse and worse and worse by the week for people who used it previously to be a part of conversations as they haven't. That audience has found a new place. And if you want to be in front of them and you want to be a part of that conversation, you need to be on the platform that they're on. We always preach and always have preached, you need to go to your audience. You can't expect them to come to you. So if you allow this whole platform to be populated or people to migrate there and you don't choose to have a conversation there, you're missing opportunities to be able to amplify your mission or be able to show the good that you do.
Bartholomew Town.
Birds are disappearing from our landscape at a rapid pace. Over 1/3 of those breeding on Audubon Society of Rhode Island's wildlife refuges are in decline. Climate change has taken a toll on their migration, nesting, and food sources. While science is highlighting the problem, Audubon is working on real solutions with a plan to rapidly reduce their carbon emissions. The organization will be free of fossil fuels by 2030, with renewable energy powering Audubon's buildings, equipment, and vehicles. To shape our future, all of us must act. Learn more about repowering Audubon, their avian research, and how you can join their fight for climate resiliency. Visit asri.org/repower. Newport Film screens the latest, critically acclaimed documentary films year-round across Rhode Island. Like a film festival, Newport Film often gets early access to films before they're available online or in the theaters. Stay up to date on their latest screening events at newportfilm.com or on Instagram at newportfilm. Are you looking to advance in your career or explore a new field? The University of Rhode Island now offers a comprehensive portfolio of fully online programs designed to bring world-class education to you anytime, anywhere. Choose from a wide range of flexible, asynchronous programs in business and leadership, data, tech, and STEM, healthcare and pharmacy, marine and environmental science, and more. With expert faculty and innovative courses, you'll gain the skills and knowledge to thrive in today's competitive world. Are you ready to take the next step? Visit uri.edu/online and discover how URI Online can help you achieve your goals. URI Online, learn anywhere with us. Half Street Group brings a new generation's perspective to leadership communication, strategic public relations, and digital marketing. Half Street helps organizations and leaders take control of their own stories and manage their reputations. They get results for their clients by focusing on audience message and culture and by leveraging their decade-long relationship with media and opinion leaders in the Ocean State and throughout New England. Join me and Half Street Group founder and president Mike Raia for a conversation every month about news of the day, the hottest media analysis, and a look behind the scenes at how impactful leaders drive conversations. Learn more at halfstreetgroup.com. As Rhode Island's first ever member-owned credit union, Navigant Credit Union has been a staple in the local business community for more than 108 years. Today, Navigant is a $3.4 billion institution serving more than 136,000 members across 25 physical branch locations. But since its founding in 1915, the mission has never changed. Navigant Credit Union's team of financial professionals have remained committed to improving the financial well-being of the families, businesses, and communities they serve across Rhode Island. Learn more at navigantcu.org. Yes, and it's clear that right now, as you say, news organizations and other organizational and thought leaders in even just in our community here in Southern New England are starting to migrate there, and you're getting a sense of, look, social media is overwhelming. It's an overwhelming place. There has to be a tailor-made approach, not only to every platform, but every type of release on a platform. Instagram Reels versus posts versus stories versus live, and so on and so forth. It's a full-time, frankly, career. And specialization there is key. That's why it's appropriate to turn to specialists when you're really trying to build something, no doubt about it. But there is a DIY element to it. BlueSky, although you have to be prepared with your message, you can't just spew something that's either disconnected from your core message or is going to get you into trouble potentially. It does, to me anyway, like X of you at yesteryear, Twitter, it's the most self-empowering type of platform, because as long as you're on brand and as long as you're reaching your audience, you can express yourself with whatever the number of characters is in real time in a way, by the way, that's amendable, which is a human trait that is really important. Because newsrooms are on there, it shows that there's a trustworthiness that, hey, as things change, so too does my take. That builds trust with your audience. Whereas an Instagram post can live on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and the sands may have shifted significantly.
Totally. I think you're onto something there. The other thing that I think is interesting from a tactical perspective, like you were talking about, you have to have all of these different personas and different tones for different social media, which is true. You want to make sure that you're tailoring your message to be able to fit the experience that the user is going to have there. You're not going to go and do a 140 character post on Instagram and just put it into a graphic. You want to make sure you're reflective and respectful of what that platform is. What's interesting about BlueSky is, in part because I think Jack Dorsey was involved in the establishment and the development of it. The experience in the tone that you can bring to it is very similar to one that most organizations or individuals who have a presence on Twitter already are familiar with. So you don't need to, and we talked with a couple of clients about this earlier this week when they were asking, well, what do I post? What do I put here? How do I use it? We're advising them, you should be using it in many ways in the same way that you used Twitter 2 years ago. And you can bring some of that same wit, some of that same informative threads to it that you did before. And what's nice now with this platform is you're able to reach audiences without having to compete for some of those clickbait ads, or the fact that when you do go onto Twitter, like you're scrolling through, I do the thumb test, you'll have 4 or 5 different ads in there on everything from cryptocurrency to retirement programs to during the campaign, anti-trans ads to everything else that clog your feed. So now you're able to get your message. The challenge, though, and this is one where, and why we were so out in front on this with our clients and reaching out to them with guidance and advice on how to be able to create their presence, because BlueSky doesn't use an algorithm in the way that Twitter does. It's on an open platform. The onus on the communicator to build an audience is so much greater. And it really mirrors some of the other strategic work that we do with clients, where we'll spend a couple of weeks typically before we start a project getting to know who their audience is, what their audience motivations are, what messages might resonate with them, what platforms they're on, and how they communicate with each other. So one of the things that we're working with our clients on is helping them with a handful of different tools that are out there to be able to identify and find people and organizations that they followed or that followed them on the legacy platform and bring that audience over, but then go the next step and make sure that you're looking at who's liking the people that you likes post, who's commenting on the post that you stop your thumb, and be able to build more of that curation. Because what BlueSky is in right now, it's in this mode of fast growth where every new user is building their own audience. And they're really engaged in that. I know I can speak personally. I spend right now probably about 25 to 35 minutes a day just kind of going through the people that have followed me and figuring out which ones do I want to follow, which ones do I want to put on lists. Naturally, people's stamina for that kind of work will subside in the near future. And they're not going to spend as much time. So if you get on in 3 weeks and people have gotten tired of doing that curation, you might just sit there without getting that opportunity while people are really engaged and really active in doing their audience building. So that's why we're telling and advising our clients, get on there quickly, post. Doesn't need to be perfect. You don't need to overthink it, but put something up there, start engaging with other content to show your board members, your donors, your stakeholders, the opinion leaders who you want to influence, that you're there and that you're ready to participate in a conversation. Because if you wait, they've already done enough of that audience curation, and now they're just moving on to conversation. you need to get there while the attendee list and while the RSVP list is being built.
Sound advice right there, no doubt. And of course, there's also the balancing act of, hey, do I post things that require a call to action, whether it's a link to a story or to an ask for a nonprofit or whatever the case may be, or like you said, just post something witty or post something reflective. Again, there's different levels of restriction for different people. I mean, if you're a straight journalist, in other words, you're not allowed by doctrine to have any sort of opinion, or you're an organization that in your bylines, you're literally not allowed to take a stance on anything. Well, yeah, you're going to have to take a different voice. But for the most part, people want humor right now, especially for some reason. BlueSky seems to be a place where I've noticed, maybe just because of my curation of who I'm following, but an increase in wit, humor, art, cartoons, things like this. They seem to be, they're definitely elevated more than they were on X, and they're definitely elevated more than I've seen on Instagram or other similar platforms.
Yep. And there's a civility that I think we've all been pining for a period of time on a real-time platform. Yeah. And I don't know if that will stay. I'm enough of a realist. I think we're in a very hyper polarized time. I don't think that it will continue that way. I think that, and there are things that I'm concerned about on this, and I'm candid with some of our clients about it. I'm candid in my conversations about it. I worry that having the BlueSky versus Twitter argument creates up two opportunities for potential echo chambers. What buoys me on the BlueSky side is the fact that established, credible legacy media types, established, credible, emerging new media types are embracing the platform. I think that some of the open, transparent product nature of it provides it the opportunity to be welcoming to different perspectives, and that it won't necessarily just be an ideological mirror of every other user that's on there. I am very concerned about what direction does Twitter go in the next year if there is a mass exodus of anything. And one of the things that I'm advising clients right now, and this isn't ideological or anything else, I don't want our clients to abandon Twitter. And that's because they still have audience there. And again, it's you go to where your audience is. It's why I do think, with hindsight being 2020, the Harris campaign should have been more willing to do things like the Joe Rogan podcast or some of those things that speak to non-political audiences that have found a willingness to engage more on the center right and more on kind of like the younger right. And it's a place where if you don't go to those audiences, you'd never have the opportunity to be able to be palatable to them. So I do think that we, as a practice, I am encouraging our clients, I'm encouraging our partners to keep a presence on Twitter. But I do worry about, what does that algorithm look like over time? What does the general audience look like as non-media users of it migrate away from it and stop posting there and stop giving the reinforcement? And what does that echo chamber end up looking like? Particularly with someone with the financial bandwidth that Elon Musk has to be able to amplify and push that. But regardless, like from just the perspective of how do you make sure you're getting your message out there, this is an exciting time, I think, for social impact leaders, for new thought leaders, because you've got this chance to be at the forefront of this new platform that we're not going to all have to take months to learn how to use the way that we did with Threads, which is why Threads never really took off, I don't think. Like Threads was something where, from a just visual perspective, it looked enough like Twitter that you're like, oh, maybe there can be some real-time conversations here. But it ended up promoting things that were outside of topics that were current. it promoted, or the algorithm was pushing things in the same capacity it did on Instagram, which are more evergreen. So it didn't lend itself to be that natural place for where breaking news happens and you turn to the platform to be able to engage in a conversation. I know, like, my only experience with it is really at this point the things that get promoted to me through my Instagram feed. And typically the things that I click on are 3, 4, 5 days old and aren't any longer relevant to a conversation that I'm going to push on my own or direct any of my clients to try to engage in.
Extremely insightful analysis. Really, quite frankly, I think a lot of people are going to benefit from what you just said right there. If you want to go that next step, halfstreetgroup.com is the place to go and get a hold of Mike and the team for, again, elevating your brand in these contexts, and especially in these new spaces. Speaking of new spaces, it's not really that new because we've been talking about it a lot, not necessarily us, but in general, the super sector of artificial intelligence. It's something that, look, a lot of people see that and they think of, well, I was going to say the Elon Musk robot, but that was really just kind of a guy in a costume at the end of the day, basically a remote costume. But people think of like a futuristic Jetsons like scenario. And look, AI is used. Even this platform we're recording on today, we record using a site called Riverside, and there's AI components here. I don't usually use them because I have sort of my own editing style and that podcast sound that I've crafted over the years, but I could have AI edit this podcast and probably save a half an hour of every episode. So it's starting to implement in ways that are forward facing, but also, as certainly with the new iOS, it's starting to get more and more behind the scenes where this sort of supercomputing is happening. What's your approach from a client forward perspective to AI right now?
Yeah. It's a good question. So we were really reluctant to come into this orbit. I dabbled with ChatGPT a little bit here and there, more in things that I did on a volunteer capacity. And it was recently, we're actually working with a client that asked us to build a GPT to be able to produce content rapidly and for multiple different platforms. And through that, we've leaned into it. We don't use AI, and we're really clear. I'm really clear with my team. We don't use AI for anything client facing. We're not going to write press releases with it. We're not going to do interview notes or write op-eds with it. What we use it for, though, is to inform what our editorial calendars can look like and be able to do long-term planning and medium-term planning for our clients to be able to help them visualize what 3, 6, 12 months can look like. We use it for admin tasks. I think one of the things that I've been really excited about as a business owner is I built it with some support and some help, a GPT that we're able to streamline so much of our back-end proposal writing and work plan development so that myself and my team can spend more time on the human elements of what we need to do for strategy, what we need to do for message development, how we can directly engage with reporters and key audiences on behalf of our clients. And what we found in that is that it forces us to, or it shows us where our gaps are. And some of the things that we do, like and there's so many great resources out there to help people understand of how do you write the right prompt or how do you get the GPT to think the right way. We will often ask it to, we'll share materials with it after. And what we do too, and I should be really clear, we have one of the professional paid platforms on GPT, which gives us a little bit more functionality. But the other reason for it is we don't want OpenAI to be using our information, our clients' information, to be able to train its AI. So that professional mode or the professional version of it ensures that our information is encrypted and separate from all of that. But what it allows it to do is we can have it work with us to be able to expose us to blind spots, to be able to show us and streamline our own learning about topics when we have new clients, to be able to cut to what the core points are. And we're in the process of working with and showing our clients how they can use more of that on their own, and how we can help them build some of those materials so that they can do more rapid fire interview prep, or that they can, when we're sitting down to do that long-term planning, that they're able to refine their idea of which components of our fundraising initiatives or our program launches in the next 12 months are going to be the most aligned with other audiences' perspectives. And what goes into this, and I think this is something that I didn't have a full appreciation for until we really committed to using this as a business practice, is you can't just go into any given AI chat or just start talking to the chat bot and get what you need. We spend, for the GPTs that we create for some of those admin tasks or some of those that editorial development or some of that message testing type stuff we do, hours, days building the configuration of custom GPTs, and really make sure that it has the fullest understanding of what our company values are, what our company processes and approaches are, so that it is additive to the very human work that we need to do. Because at the end of the day, all the talk, all the other stuff of AI is going to take my job or AI is going to render this industry useless, I don't buy it. There's ways that AI is going to change people's jobs. It's going to change the way that we're expected to do our jobs. But agencies like ours that use it to be able to elevate the level of work or expand the understanding of work are the ones that are going to be most effective with it. Agencies and professionals who use it simply as a shortcut to be able to finish a press release, they're the ones that are going to get their jobs replaced. And it's not going to be by AI. It's going to be because their clients fire them and they hire a firm like ours that are using this to be able to elevate their workflow.
Well said. I couldn't agree more. I think that there's a fine line right now that a lot of people are thinking in terms of automation to replace, as you just said, literally recapping human employees or contractors, when in reality, it's supplementing those employees or contractors with the tools that can just make them, or allow them, I should say, to get more done using their brain, using their talent, using their actual real-time connection. I actually have been thinking about this a lot, and I think that AI is going to give us a chance to unplug from the internet a little bit, unplug from social media, and go back out into the real world, because certain aspects of that digital interface that we live with might actually, those are the things that with a well-programmed, well-developed GPT, they can do some of that behind the scenes while you're out interfacing, while you're out actually being creative, while you're out actually doing real business, or just living your life like a human used to prior to, 2006. So I'm more optimistic than ever. We've heard on radio, in my radio world, I've heard an AI traffic reporter, and you're like, okay, well, that's obvious when they say there's an accident at Gano Street, and they're like, yeah, this is unsustainable. I mean, even if you program the accurate pronunciation of every variable in the state, it's untrustworthy. It doesn't have that human element, and it never will.
I think, Bill, I think you need to create your own GPT of how to pronounce every town in Rhode Island.
There it is. That's a big,
it becomes totally new reporter training for every new media graduate who comes here for a job at Channel 12 or Channel 6 or Channel 10. They have to go to your GPT and learn how to pronounce Pawtucket.
Exactly. Good luck with Nasonville,
I will say this, though, like, as much as I have become a reluctant evangelist of some of the chat GPT functions and other AI, and frankly, I think that there are other industries that use it in a much, much more sophisticated way than kind of local boutique social impact PR does. There are parts of it that scare the crap out of me, though, too. I do think these deep fakes, I think that as the image rendering gets more and more complex and comprehensive and frankly good, it opens up to a lot of these things of, are people going to be able to trust what they see in a digital platform? is it going to diminish further the trust that people have in media? And I mean, going back to the conversation we were having before about social media and Twitter, I do think that there is a very, very urgent need for real regulatory oversight of these emerging platforms, because they're incredibly important. They're incredibly powerful. And they're not going anywhere. We need to just accept that they're going to be a part of these different industries, and smart businesses are going to find the way to be able to make them work there and make their processes more efficient. But just like we did with the telecommunications industry, just like we did with the medical industry, just like we did with countless other industries, we can't afford for this to continue to be the Wild West. We can't afford for platforms with the kind of influence that Twitter or Facebook or Meta have to not be under some form of rule of engagement. And same thing with AI. And I don't know what that looks like. I'm not smart. I don't pretend for a minute to be smart enough on that. But I do think that folks like David Cicilline, who are at the forefront of this for a period of time, are going to really need to catch up, because the reality on this is these industries are moving a hell of a lot faster than policymakers are. And I do worry with the changes coming in Washington of how much further ahead are these industries going to get, and particularly some of the nefarious players in these industries, before real regulators are able to come in and get their arms around it. And I'm hopeful and optimistic, because I'm a hopeful optimist at nature, despite being a Democrat, that we are going to get smart people to get their arms around this, and that it will be something that we're able to capture and direct toward more efficient workflows and toward a better and nurturing a better quality of life, and streamlining things and making things more. I think there are certain things that would be beneficial to be more automated, because it can create more safety. It can create other opportunities for people to find careers in more rewarding industries and things. And I don't know what any of that, I don't know what all of that looks like yet, but I want to put that caveat out there of as much as I have come to embrace ChatGPT as a very high functioning platform to be able to support my business and help us provide better services to our clients, I'm not dismissing the things that are really, really flippin' scary about it.
Yeah, they're real. And it's part of it as well as the mirror of what you said, where someone sees something and that is real, but they don't believe it's real because they've been conditioned to believe that everything is a deep fake. It can become a really scary space very quickly. So there does have to be regulation. And like you said, the tech is moving much faster than the policy, and we'll see where that goes. halfstreetgroup.com, that's where you should go if you're interested in upping your own abilities and really just having somebody who can help guide you into that next level, whether it's social media, broad-based public relations, and even Rhode Island FC fandom, as Mike Raia places the helmet with the RIFC logo on it. Big game.
Let's go, Conno. Bring it home, buddy.
There it is. Mike Raia, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Bill. I'll see you soon.
Hey, thanks for stopping by Bartholomew Town. For more content, follow me on Instagram @BillBartholomew.